everybody. Today, Hani is going to continue reading Wonka, inspired by Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Chapter 22. Abigail is on the loose. The priest stepped outside of the cathedral and froze. Then he rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Standing in the middle of the street and eyeing him was a great hunger, was a giraffe. Unfortunately, rubbing his eyes meant he momentarily broke eye contact, and that just emboldened Abigail to move closer. She raised her nose in the air and sniffed. There, steady, nice giraffe, the priest said nervously, starting to back up. Well, Abigail didn't like that. She began striking her hoof against the ground. The priest was sweating now, his entire body wobbling in fear. Even his face and cheeks were wobbling like a cream caramel. Save yourselves, he screamed as he fell back into the cathedral and slammed the door shut. He tore down the aisle, past worshippers in quiet prayer and a few very confused monks. Get up, quick! It's the neck one! He was so agitated he'd forgotten the word giraffe. Abigail crashed to the door, then galloped down the aisle behind him. The congregation exploded into panic. Stuff was flying everywhere, bags, shoes, hats, and everyone was screaming as the sound of thundering hooves rose up into the rafters. The priest stumbled up into the steps and into the pulpit and grabbed the telephone that was hidden beneath the lectern. What have I done to deserve this? He whimpered to himself as he punched the numbers. You know what you've done, Julius. Sold your soul for 20 pieces of chocolate. Operator. Hello, operator, came Lotie's voice. How may I direct your call? I need the zoo. It's an emergency, the priest said. Putting you through now, Lottie said confidently. Stand by. Caller. There was a click, and in the telephone box nearby, the phone rang. Larry cracked his knuckles and then picked up the receiver, while Willie, Noodle, Abacus, and Piper stood around him, looking at each other nervously. Hello, zoo? Larry lied. No, the rest of the group made animal noises. Quiet down, you animals, Larry said, trying not to laugh. You too, Octopus, he added, putting on an underwater voice. Have you lost a giraffe? The priest screamed. Oh yeah, I think we did lost a giraffe, Larry said. Well, it's easy to do, isn't it? The others could hear the priest's exasperated shout from the phone. Yes, easy to lose. That's what I said, Larry said, his voice cracking with laughter. The priest's shouts became high-pitched now. Okay, Larry said. I'll send you the team round to pick up the giraffe. You just sit tight. Back at the cathedral, the priest hung up with the phone and breathed a sigh of relief. But it was short-lived. He felt a gust of warm breath on his neck. Slowly he turned to see two huge hungry eyes peering down at him. Abigail began sniffing the priest and began to whimper. She sniffed his face and his neck, her muzzle whiskers scratching at his throat and making him wince. Then suddenly she plunged her head down into the socket. A crunching sound made the priest jolt in surprise. When he looked down, he couldn't believe his eyes. His pocket was full of bright green nubbly treats. By some awful miracle, his pocket had been filled with mint. Mint now being demolished by an over and enthusiastic giraffe. He was thrown from side to side as Abigail tried to wiggle her nose further down into the pocket. His strange husband pulled his arms free of the rope, which collapsed to the ground as he vaulted over the pulpit to safety. Then suddenly a beep sounded outside and a zoo truck burst through the door, weaving around the debris and the fleeing congregation scratching to stop in the middle of the cathedral. Abacus, Piper, and Larry jumped out. Better if you leave now, Abacus said to the priest. It's safer. The priest didn't need to be told twice. He ran as fast as he could out of the cathedral doors and didn't look back. Lily sat huddled in the back of the van, covered in straw that smelled of wet draft. Noodle was next to him, sitting on her legs tucked up in her chain and breathing only from her mouth to avoid the smell. A nervous excitement bubbled in Willie's stomach at the sight of the plan coming together. Piper hauled the door open. Coast is clear, she said. Come on. Willie and Noodle burst into the straw and made for the confessional. Willie squeezed inside first, while Abacus stood to the priest's side. Piper handed Noodles and the coats, and she sneezed in them. There were barely enough room for two of them. No one was saying anything as a touching nervousness spread across the group. Abacus gave Willie a supportive nod, and then he pulled his lever. A roaring sounded, and the confessional booth began to shake and shift, and soon it was descending into the depths below. Here we go, Willie whispered as he sank down into the darkness. Chapter 23, Flamingo Jam. Ping! As the elevator doors opened into the craft, the secretary chef looked up with surprise to see not a guest but a box of chocolates wrapped in a ribbon and placed neatly on a stand. She stepped inside of the elevator and plucked the accompanying card from the stand. Thank you for all your hard work. Please enjoy this chocolate from us. Father Julius and Chocolate Curdle. Oh, that's sweet, she said, unwrapping one of the chocolates and shoving it into her mouth. Almost immediately, she was dribbling and chirping and bouncing off the ceiling. Is she now crying? The asked from their hiding place above the elevator. And finally, Willie said. He flicked his hand. Thud. Spread it out. Meanwhile, across town, Slugworth's limousine nosed its way slowly through a flock of flamingos blocking the road. Sorry about this, sir, Slugworth's driver said, but a pawn delivery van crashed and spilled everywhere. And you know how flamingos are. Well, hurry along, will you? Slugworth said. Tick-tock, tick-tock. He reached the hand for the pocket watch and jolted in shock when his hand could not find nothing but pocket. The vein in his forehead began bulging, his furious eyes moving back and forth as he shifted through the recent memory. That woman, he shouted suddenly, remembering his collision with Piper. He reached for his car phone and dialed. Father, everything all right there? He asked urgently. Oh yes, Mr. Slugworth. It is well, said the priest said. At least it is now. What do you mean it is now? Slugworth said. Oh, we had a draft in here earlier, the priest said. Slugworth turned to see a flamingo aggressively pecking at the window. Sorry, the line is bad. Oh, what? It sounded like you said draft, but that can't be Yes, the priest interrupted. A giraffe from the zoo. We had to clear the whole place for about 20 minutes, but everything's back to normal now. Slugworth hung up and dialed Fickle Grover and Prudnoise on the special telephone. It was a direct line to every member at the same time. Gentlemen, Slugworth said, where are you? On my way to see the tailors, Fickle Grover lied. I'm just having a bath, Prudnoise screeched. I am. The line fell silent before Slugworth said violently, in your car? It's a car bath, Prudnoise squeaked. Why, haven't you got one? Slugworth sat very still as he listened down the line, pecking on the windows, the same squawks and flapping sounds. Hello, Fickleglove and Prudnoise said at once. I'm still here, Slugworth said. And so are you. You're stuck in a flamingo jam. You're going to see Wonka. We all are. Except he's not going to be there. Why? Where is he? Ficklegrover asked. In the craft, Slugworth said, a red range consuming him, robbing us. Chapter 24, The Vaults and the Truth. Willie and Noodles stood by the gargantuan steel door by the boat. There were 3 individual coded dials, one marked for each chocolatier. Noodle held up the 3 pieces of paper from paper. She read them out slowly and carefully so Willie couldn't make a mistake. 6, 4, 2, she said. 2, 7, 3, 9, 1, 8. Willie dialed in the combination, took a deep breath, and then together they heaved a huge wheel dial, trying to open it. 1, 2, Willie whispered. The lock didn't budge. That's the wrong code, Noodle cried. It hadn't worked. Willie slumped. They were inches away from the final pieces of their plan, but without the code, they might as well have been all the way back at the start. Noodle said, making Willie jump. Hang on a minute. What is it, Noodle? He asked hopefully, and then he saw what she was doing. She was rotating the last piece of paper. I might have been upside down, she said. Try 8, 1, 6. Clunk! Noodle! Willie cried, looking at her in awe as he heaved the heavy door open to reveal a thick layer filled with pipes and valves and strange controls and clanging machinery. Well done, you passed the test. What test? Noodle asked. The upside-down number test, Willie replied. That's not a test. It absolutely is a test. Now, he said, his eyes scanning the room. Let's find the ledger. They raced into the lair, emptying out drawers and uptending piles of paper. They searched under chairs and under rugs. They searched everywhere. Anything? Willie asked. Noodle threw some chocolate boxes to the ground in frustration. Nothing. Well, keep looking, Willie said. It's here. It must be. Noodle slumped into a chair. It's not here, Willie. It must be. Abacus told us. Abacus had been in the washout for the past 4 years, Noodle said. Maybe they changed it. Maybe all that scrubbing went to his head. All that's down here is a load of stupid old chocolate. She picked up a box of chocolate and threw them hard. The chocolates went flying into the room, and the box crashed in a tile on the wall, and a strange click sounded, and the tile did an incredible thing. It flipped open to reveal a hidden compartment behind it. It was in a chunky book bound in a green leather. The green ledger, Willie cheered, grabbing and hoisting it into the air. You had me doing there for a minute, Noodle, but you know how it's so long. No, I didn't. I just... Suddenly there was a bang. Willie turned to see Slugworth armed and blocking their only exit. Fickle Grubber and Prudence stood smugly by his side. Naughty, Mr. Wonka, Slugworth sneered. You caused them quite a bit of trouble. You and your urchin. She's not an urchin, though, is she? Willie said bravely, stepping forward, eager not to miss his chance to find some answers. Your family. What? Noodle said. What are you talking about, Willie? You know that ring, he said gently. The one you got from your parents? Well, Mr. Slugworth had just one like it. Don't you, Mr. Slugworth? Slugworth narrowed his eyes at Willie as Noodle pulled a ring from around her neck. That's my brother's ring, Slugworth said, his eyes still fixed on Willie. Zebedee, he was called. Noodle stared down at the necklace and whispered, Was he my father? A hopeless romantic, but he has. Slugworth spat, fell in love with a common little bookworm, but died before they could marry, leaving me sole heir to the family fortune. Or so I thought. And I heard you were soon to be born, another heir with a claim to my money. But, as luck would have it, not long after you arrived, your mother showed up on my doorstep, begging me to get a doctor for a sick little newborn. I said to leave the child with me. I could help. Willie moved closer to Noodle, worried for his friend. The new student seemed to have sunk in. She remained emotionless, her face blank and unreadable. Then she hand gripping her ring began to shake. Of course, I had other plans, Slugworth said with a wicked grin. You didn't take me to a doctor, Noodle said. You took me to scrub it and bleach her. Down the laundry chute you went, Slugworth laughed. To a sad little life. Not N for a Noodle, she said as she thumbed the ring. Z for Zebedee. That's the meanest story I've ever heard, Willie cried in disbelief. And what lie did you tell her mother to cover your tracks? Oh, I said the baby had died, Sogor said dismissively. I gave a bed of silver gains and sent her back where she came from. She was heartbroken, but she believed me. Billy turned his attention to the beefy green ledger, flicking through as fast as he could go. Where could you send her back to, Slugworth? Noodle said, her voice desperate. She might be out still. What's her name? Now then, ooh, Slugworth said, tapping his chin. Now then, what was it? I don't think I can remember that. You must understand, she was very poor. Fickle Grover reached at the word. Sorry, Flex, Slugworth said. Yuli popped, riffling through the pages of the ledger and looked up, stomach flipping and floppy. I found her, she said. Noodle. She's called Dorothy Smith. Noodle stared in Willie in disbelief. You found her? Look, Willie said, pointing at me to the entry of the ledger. She's right here. Noodle read the ledger, then suddenly her head snapped up. Wait, Willie, how did you read that? I guess you teach me to read after all, he said with a smile. Well, this is all very touching, Slugworth said, but I've got a treat for you. Pickle Grover snatched the ledger from Willie. What treat? Slugworth fixed with a grin. Death by my chocolate, he sneered.